Hey y'all, today on the farm it has been raining off and on for about 20 hours, so it's too wet to be in the fields, and I've driven over to Leesburg, Georgia to a big farm equipment auction. You may wonder why farmers go to so many auctions. It's because auctions are kind of like a convention for farmers. It's where we get to talk to other farmers, see what worked for them this past year, what didn't work for them, and what they're planning on doing this coming year. We also get the chance to look at other farmers' equipment and see how they modified it, how they used it, and that may give us some ideas of how to modify or use our own equipment. One thing I like to do at auctions is kind of look and see if it's newer equipment or older equipment. If it is older equipment, that generally tells me that farmers are buying new equipment, they're making room. Maybe they don't have enough storage for all the equipment, so they'll get rid of some of the older stuff to make room for the new stuff. If you see newer equipment at the auction, that generally means farmers are in a tight spot and they're having to sell off some of the equipment because they're not going to farm as much land, or they're getting out of farming altogether. 7330. So this tractor has an orchard kit on it. You can get inside the pecan orchards. This is pecan country, or pecan country if you're a Yankee. And so this one has the orchard rack on it. So those pecan limbs hit those racks and go around the cab instead of going up there and busting the lights off the cab, messing the hood up. The limbs will just hit this and they'll peel around the cab so he can get in there. He can spray pecan trees and mow and do whatever they got to do in the orchards. Also, very important, protect the roof. So when they hook this to a pecan shaker or pecan shaker and it shakes those trees and all the nuts fall out, that metal up there will protect the roof, because all those nuts come falling down, it will damage the cab. Like these row cleaners, man, super cool. So with these row cleaners, you can get away with less tillage. There may be, with the soil types they have here, they make it do a no-till situation. And so this would clean the stubble out right ahead of the opening disc. So have a nice clean spot to drop the seed. Pretty cool, I like those planters. This is all the rage currently in the Southeast. These new crust buster planters, that is the bee's knees. A lot of people use these to plant twin row peanuts. And this is just, if you don't have one of these and you're farming, you're wanting one of them. This thing that everybody's wanting right now. Y'all seen me running my ripper, and I've done a little welding on the feet. Now I've replaced the bottom of one of the feet, and I did some hard surfacing. This person did not take those same precautions. Oh Lordy. See, when those shanks gets thin on the back, it makes it where they can bend easier. That shank got too thin, he hit a hard spot, bent the foot around. This is the first archway bottom plow or moldboard plow I have ever seen. We do have this type of drag or rake on most of the John Deere plows you see run around here, but this is the first archway one I've ever seen. This is a twin row monocellular planter. If it was singles, it'd be what's called a 12 row planter, but it's a 24 row peanut planter. You could also do soybeans with it, but this is common in our area for peanuts. You'll see these twin row units. So put two rows of peanuts real close together and then have a gap. Just a popular way of growing peanuts down here in our region. There's a Umverfurf ripper bedder, and I don't see a lot of people bedding in my part of the state. Now if you get over toward the central part of the state, you still see people bedding, but not a lot of bedding going on where I'm at anymore. But basically you got a big shank like you would a strip till, and then behind it, instead of two wavy coulters throwing the dirt together, you have a pair of twin discs, and they're going to throw up a big bed. And then you're going to have this door on the back what smooths out the bed and leaves it nice and flat. And you'll see these, sometimes they'll attach them in between the row units, and so you have just, if you put this on here, you have a slightly raised bed. Your bed will be raised that much, but without that, the beds won't be raised at all, because this door's knocking the bed down. You're creating a bed with the foot and the disc, and they'll smooth it back out with this. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it's not. You're creating a very deep furrow, soft growing zone right where the bed is. they'll use these doors to smooth the field back out, so the field is smooth even though there is a softer zone right where the seed's going to be. And we'll know where that zone is at because this is driven by a GPS, and then that line, those coordinates, is shared to the planter tractor. So even though the field is smooth and you can't see the rows that are there, you can still follow them. But sometimes we'll attach those to the doors and you'll still see the little small raised beds. This is a Harold Ag bottom plow or moldboard plow. If you're not from our particular region, the Southeast, you may not recognize it, but Harolds are made right here in Georgia. They are top quality moldboard or bottom plows, built really heavy, very common down here. They are the original on-land plow. Plows are typically labeled either on land or in furrow. So an in furrow plow, the tractor rides crooked all day, but an on land plow, the tractor's moved over out of the furrow, and so you get to drive not leaned over all day. And Harold is the company that invented that option. Been around farming for a long time, but I've never seen a Zeter or Zetter tractor before. Really large padded fenders in here. Holy moly. Oh, you can't hardly get your feet in here. All these dang gears in between my legs. It is kind of a large cab in here, but everything's right between your legs. If you were a bigger guy, you'd have a tough time getting in here. Looks like they would have washed it before they bought it to the auction. When new purchase price, this is probably the most expensive piece of equipment on the whole lot out here. These cotton rollers are very expensive if you're not familiar with cotton production. The new rollers are well over $1 million for one of these, the newest version of this machine. It'd be interesting to see what this one sells for. This is a older model that that's interesting. We got a case right here hooked to a disc, and right beside it we have a 8245R John Deere hooked to a rip strip and planter rig. So it looks like somebody's ready to go to the field getting something done. They got the guy running ahead of them, disking up the corn stalks or cotton stubble, and then he's coming right behind him ripping and planting. Got all you need right here, parked side by side. Case 200 and a John Deere 8245R. This is a county mowing tractor. You got the guard down here to keep limbs and stuff in the ditches from going up in there. Little grill guard. Big mirror up top so they can see the traffic behind them, know if they're safe to pull back on the road or not. This would have been used by a local municipality to mow the ditches. Holy crap, straight pipe. That's what I'm talking about right there, folks. I bet that's not loud sitting in that seat at all. I tell you what, he's got the whole undercarriage covered. He's going off the right of way. He's fully protected, but man, he's not protected from the freaking exhaust. Only 840 hours. This could actually be a really good tractor for someone do some food plots with, deer land. Good little tractor. 8520. Full set of wheel weights. This is one of the better tractors John Deere made right here. This is a 12-row KMC stalk puller, cotton stalk puller. The cotton stalks roll right in here, right between those discs. They got these teeth grabbing the ground. They're helping them have the motion, and the cotton stalk gets pinched right there, and it snatches up out, throws it up, and then you have these baskets to be folded down behind it, and that'll kind of incorporate those stalks into the dirt. Check this out. I thought it looked like it had been washed, because if it was just ordinarily clean, the water wouldn't be beading on them, but there's water beading up there. That means there's oil on it, and so there has been a lot of oil on the back of this tractor, and they just cleaned it off. The beading up made me think that, but then I looked down here and the oil is even puddled up. I mean, that's straight oil, so something back there is pouring oil out. 9,000 hours on the 8285. Whew. I hope it goes cheap. This is a very useful piece of equipment. This is called a hooded sprayer, and so it's going to fold out, and those row units will be down the ground like those. But what you got here is your actual crop is going to pass through in between it. This is where your cotton goes, whatever you're growing, it goes right here. This is in the row middle, this hood is, and you have spray nozzle right there, and so you can spray inside that hood, and you got all these flaps and everything, and it keeps all the spray under the hood, so the spray doesn't leave the hood, so you can spray something that would ordinarily kill the crop you're growing. So you may have a particularly aggressive weed like a pigweed that's not easy to kill, and if anything you spray on pigweed, for the most part, until they come out with dicamba, would also kill whatever crop you're growing. So with this machine, you could spray Gormoxone on pigweeds and not kill your cotton, in theory, you know, if the cotton stayed outside the hood and the weeds were under the hood. The hood's supposed to keep the spray from drifting out. So very useful tool if you have to have a very aggressive spray plan. Super cool 4-row KMC strip till and planter, John Deere planter. You don't see this setup typical on 4 rows. Cool to see a small version of that here. We have in the past run a strip till with drag chains behind it instead of baskets. That's one of the older ways of doing it, but they went to baskets, and then now they don't use baskets, they use press wheels. But this person has rigged up drag chains on the planter, and they're actually working in reverse. Typically drag chain is dragging behind something, but in this case the planter wheel here is rolling forward and this chain is dragging on it up there, and so what it's doing is it's dragging off the mud that would be on this wheel. So it comes around, this chain is keeping the wheels cleaned off, and that controls your depth, so you have an even depth. If you have mud built up on the wheels, then it's picking the planter up and it's making your depth shallower. So keeping the mud off the wheels keeps the depth nice and even. 8400R, one of the newer, more super popular tractors, and that's, I didn't see this till I started filming. John Deere and a dead deer. That is a dead deer parked in front of a deer out here. Oh, the omens. This is why I came to this auction today, the Nasty Cat Stagger. Been pulling a dirt pan with this. Good gracious alive. This is a man's tractor. 5,000 dirt pan hours. That's a lot of hours with a dirt pan, y'all. I ain't gonna lie to you. Be interesting to see what this this big beast goes for. I love big tractors. I love articulating tractors. For your money, you get more horsepower for your dollar in the South if you're willing to have an articulating tractor. Most Southerners, most people in the Southeast don't want articulating tractors. My dad ran an 89 or owned an 8970 for a long time. I drove it laying off rows. After I quit using it to lay off rows, another guy drove it pulling a 40-foot sunflower. You can get a lot of work done with one of these big articulating tractors. They're just not popular in the South. But if you're looking for something with high horsepower and you're on a budget, in the Southeast, you come out better to buy a used articulating tractor than a standard row crop tractor. These tractors, a lot of bang for your buck. They painted them rims. Unload on the go, a modest peanut picker. It's one of the industry standards right here. Got the new ribs on the front. One trick with older machines, this is not an older machine, but one trick with older peanuts is farmers like to leave just a little bit of peanut hay and peanuts down there in the front when it gets to auction, so the people say, oh, that one was just used. It was used this year, you know it still runs. You see that common on older pickers, but on a new picker, clean your machine up before you bring it to auction. Y'all, come on now. You could have blown that crap out. Twin PTOs, 540 and 1,000. That's right.
You ain't gotta take it loose yet.
That's right. Ain't gotta swap your PTO shafts. Just hook up to whichever one you need.
Yeah, got both of them ready to go.
I darn sure ain't never seen that before. That's neat. That's something. Yeah. Huh. I always see something new at the auction.
What you gonna give for it?
I ain't giving nothing for it. What you gonna give?
I'm gonna wait out the way for somebody to get it.
He's filling up the fuel right there where he's sitting. He's smelling diesel all day.
I knew it.
3. Been a little quicker internet. 340, we got an International 784 tractor here. Hey, might be absolutely right, gentlemen. Buy a good little tractor. North time's coming. Oh, tell me, and give 10,000 here. What's the second time? 10,000 done here, 10,000 done here, 10,000 2, 2,000 now, 3,000 now, 25. I'd have been 2,500 and 2 now, 25. I'd have been 2 to 2,500 done here, 2 to 25.
On my wheat video, I had someone comment why I didn't put out the liquid nitrogen while I was spraying the herbicide. This is why right here. So this sprayer, this same sprayer I have, and see the rust here? That's because they run nitrogen through this sprayer. When you run liquid fertilizer through your sprayer with your herbicide, it eats the sprayer up. Sometimes we do it anyway, you know, if you got a better price point on the liquid, but it is really hard on your equipment. It tears your equipment up, and so whenever possible, we put out a granular instead of spraying the liquid through the sprayer. Something I've never seen, this Amadas 2100 has wheel weights, or wheel weights, homemade wheel weights, welded to the wheel, so it will, you know, take some jump or wobble out of it. I'm not sure what the condition is that they thought they need to add wheel weights to it. If you leave these pickers on the ground all year, you don't jack them up, when you start out, the tires will be flat spotted, and so they will bounce for a while until the tires get rounded again. But what we typically do is at the end of the season, we come in here, once we've cleaned the picker up and parked in the barn, we jack them up and put blocks under them so that the wheels are just barely off the ground. This is about a $2,500 tire, and so if you jack it up off the ground, it will retain its shape all year. If you don't jack it up off the ground, it gets flat spotted, and also vertical little ribs will develop in cracks, will develop it where it's been flexed all year, and then you'll end up with a tire that still has the nipples on it, it's still barely used, but it's cracked all over and flat spotted. So you'll have a worthless $2,000 to $3,000 tire that needs replacing.
Well, explain what?
Explain to us what this machine is right here, Billy.
You run this on the washed out pivot tracks.
Yep.
Covers where it's washed out. Covers up the hole.
So the irrigations, as they're watering, they're leaving a rut. The heavy irrigation's bogging down, it's leaving a rut in the field, and everywhere those tires run, there's a ditch used about 18 inches deep. This machine right here, you'll saddle that in the hole in the irrigation rut, and then these discs are gonna grab dirt and pull it toward that rut, and this is gonna smooth it up. So before you start tillage, after you've harvested your crop, you come in here and you run this to eliminate the irrigation rut, so you ain't bouncing and bumping your tractor across them all during spring tillage.
129 he need to get up here 9 now 30 $829.30 $130,000 he need to get up here 129.30 green water 830 $130 he need to get up here 30 $129.30 y'all through and done. I'm gonna sell her $129 he need to get up here 30 last call $129 he need to get up here 30 $129.30 sold it $129,000.
I'm heading to the house now. What I saw today was a lot of newer equipment at the auction, stuff that shouldn't really be at auction. What it tells me is when you see this new equipment at auction is that farmers are cutting back, they're farming less, or they're getting out altogether. And there's a lot of newer equipment here, and also it was going for the most part a lower price, which means the farmers that are still in the game don't have spare money to spend. So farm outlook's not looking good. 2023 was a bad year for the farmers because of the commodity prices, and the outlook for 2024 is looking worse.